Hey guys, welcome back to another video on my channel. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe, like all my content, put all your comments and suggestions in the section below, and check out all my other videos once you're done watching this one. And so we are 22 days away from election day, and in today's video we will be updating our house prediction. This will be the second to last one. I will make one more house prediction right before election day, so stay tuned for that to come out. And so we are going to be updating this house prediction, and the house is really like a 50-50 race at this point. As we can see on the generic congressional vote, Democrats are up 0.7, and that's a lot less than what they were up in the last couple months when they're up by around 1 to 2. The gap has really closed now. A lot of the undecideds have come home, and they've come home mostly to the Republicans. And I expect there's still a few undecideds out there. There's still quite a lot. So the Republicans will catch up a little more. And at the end of the day, this electorate might be tied. It really depends what's going to happen between Trump and Harris. And right now we have Republicans outpacing Trump by around 1 point. They'll probably vote pretty similarly because it's pretty rare for someone to vote for Trump at the top of the ballot and then vote for a Democrat congressman or congresswoman at the bottom of the ballot. So it'll be pretty similar either way. And what we have here on the poly market, the odds right now, as I explained, they're pretty even. Democrats do have the slight edge. It has gone down quite a lot since last week, as have the chances of Republicans in every single chamber. Republicans' chances of the presidency, Senate, and House have gone up considerably in the past week. But it's also correlated to the House, and we see here that Democrats have around a 56% chance and Republicans would have around a 44% chance to win. And so, it's pretty even. And in my own eyes, I do see this being really close either way. The House is already really close. Republicans control it with like a very, very narrow majority. And whoever wins this, it's going to be like a very small majority. And going now to the map itself, this is the consensus map of basically who is favored in every seat that is not a toss-up, like leans and likelies over here. We do have 24 key toss-up races. Without them, we have Republicans at 207, Democrats at 204. So completely even. And let's get started on this prediction with the first state, Alabama. There is nothing's going to change. The second district is flipping since it got redistricted. We have the state of Alaska, and this is going to be a very close race. Peltola did win in 2022 in a pretty shocking result. And due to the fact that Trump is going to be at the top of the ballot, I think that she is going to lose narrowly. It's not going to be the same electorate. It's going to be a lot more Republican favored. I do expect Trump to increase his margin to around 12 points, and you won't see this kind of margin happen, especially in a presidential year. Going to the state of Arizona now, we have two main districts that are going to be up for election. Both of them Republican held. Both of them won by narrow amounts. I do think Cisco Manny is going to be able to hold, and I do think Schreiker is also going to be able to hold. These are going to be extremely narrow margins, and this really goes for the fact that Trump is going to do really well in Arizona. According to the polls we have now, he's up by 1 point. I expect him to win by more than 2 points as of now, and the polls are looking really good for him, and I do expect these two to barely hold on. There is a scenario in which if Trump wins the state of Arizona by a very narrow amount, that Schweiker does risk losing, but right now I do see both of them holding on very narrowly as of that. Arkansas, we have no races. California, we have a lot of races. Most of them are Republican held seats. I do think that Valadao, number one, is going to hold. This guy has been holding off in every election. Same thing as Garcia. But I do think Duarte is going to go down this time. He's in a D+11 district. And, most of these districts, I think, will shift right. But the candidate that is not like Valadao and Garcia, Duarte, I think will go down a narrow amount. But I do think that Calvera and Steele will hold on, especially they didn't win by pretty comfortable margins. And the state of California as a whole is going to trend pretty heavily to the right this election cycle. It's not going to be a 29-point win like we saw in the 2020 election. And most of these states down in SoCal around this area are not going to be as left favorable as these over here, thus me flipping the 13th and not the 22nd or the 27th. The state of Colorado does have one competitive district, and I do think Democrats are going to hold this, especially in a state that is going to be trending left. She is going to win this by probably a larger margin than that this time around. That was in 2022. So do expect Democrats to hold that seat over there. There's going to be no races out of the state of Delaware. Out of Florida, there is going to be no competitive races either. It's been districted in a way where these seats are really safe. Same thing with Georgia. Same thing with Hawaii and Idaho. Illinois, the 17th, will go to Democrats. I do think that would be correct. Indiana, the 1st. And then we have the state of Iowa. And in the state of Iowa, a right-trending state. And these are districts that Trump also won, and that the House members had won by even more. They will both definitely hold on. I think that they will most likely hold on, and I see this still being a 4-0 for the GOP, especially in a state that I do expect Trump to continue to expand his margin in. The 3rd is going to be staying for Democrats. Nothing out of Kentucky. Louisiana Democrats will be gaining another seat, also due to redistricting. We have the state of Maine next. And in the state of Maine, we do have a competitive district here. I expect Trump to win this by more than 10 points. But Jared Golden is a pretty favorable candidate for that area. He's pretty neutral, pretty bipartisan. And I do think he's pretty popular also in the 2nd district. And Golden will be holding on to his seat by a narrow margin, less than last time, but he'll still be holding on. Maryland does not have any competitive districts. Massachusetts also, they're all safe for Democrats. And then we have the state of Michigan, and this one is going to be a pretty hard call for these states. Alyssa Slotkin's seat, she is retiring. Her seat is going to flip. This is a district that Trump will win this time around. And then we have Dan Kilde's seat, and he is actually not running for re-election, which makes this pretty interesting in how it's going to go down. It is going to be right here in this area. I do expect Trump to do well in the 8th district. He did lose it by 2 points. I expect him maybe even to win this district this time around. And the real question is if Republicans are able to flip the district in the House as well. And since Dan Kildee is not running for re-election, it's going to be just another generic Democrat. And I do think that the Republicans will be able to flip it. And they are going to make a lot of gains in the Rust Belt and the Midwest region. Democrats got extremely good performances in the Rust Belt in the 2022 midterms. They're not going to see that same thing happen this time because it always revolves around the top of the ticket. Minnesota, the 2nd, will stay with Democrats. Mississippi, nothing. Missouri, also nothing. Montana, the 1st, will be leaning in the Republicans column. And then over here we have Nebraska. And this is a seat that Republicans are definitely in trouble because the polls out of Nebraska 2nd are looking extremely good for Democrats. And I think this is a seat that they do flip. I don't think Don Bacon holds as of now. He's pretty in trouble in his seat. But that'll be Nebraska over there. And then after the state of Nebraska, we're going to go to the Nevada. In Nevada, there is going to be no changes. I do expect maybe the 4th to be closer, but still Democrats are probably going to hold all of them. In New Hampshire, I do think that these both will stay with Democrats as well. They do perform pretty well. Pappas is definitely going to have a closer race, but he is pretty favored in his district. We do have New Jersey. Nothing really competitive out of here. The 7th will go to Republicans. New Mexico, some people are thinking that the 2nd could flip back Republican since this state is going to turn Republican. But I do think that Harrell maybe does stand a chance, but I'll give Vasquez the edge as of now and keep it in the Democrat column. This is an interesting one. Now we have the state of New York, and in the state of New York in the 2022 midterms, Republicans flipped a lot of seats that were Democrat controlled. And this time around, we're going to see a couple of them flip back Democrat. That includes Despacito's seat. I do think he will not win, but I do think Molinaro will hold his seat. Williams, I think, will lose his seat. And I think Lawler, this is going to be a very close race. These margins over here are going to be a lot more closer because the state of New York is polling like 10 points closer than it did in 2020. We have polls that have this at like around a D+13 race. But let's remember that in 2022, the governor's race almost flipped Republican. So just taking that all into consideration, I do think that Lawler's seat will actually flip back to Democrats, but I could be wrong here. This is one of the seats that is a real 50-50 in my eyes that I could be wrong. But right now, I'm going to give it to Democrats as a very narrow flip, but I could be wrong. In the state of North Carolina, it was redistricted to help Republicans a lot. They will flip at least 3 seats. And I actually do think that Davis is going to lose this because this is also a right-trending district. It was only 1.7 for Democrats back in 2020, and it is going to be more Republican favored. I do think he will lose his seat, and Democrats will actually only have 3 seats in the state of North Carolina if he does end up losing. North Dakota has no changes at all. In the state of Ohio, we do have the 13th district. Trump will perform well. Maybe he'll end up winning the vote in the 13th. I think Sykes will still hold on by a lean margin. Captor will also hold on. She's very popular in her own district, even though Trump will win the same in the presidential run. And then we have the state of Oklahoma. All of these are safe for Republicans. Oregon is a state that could be held. Chavez could hold her seat, but I do see this flipping to Democrats because it is a seat that Joe Biden was able to win by 9 points. It's going to be very, very hard for Donald Trump and the House member running, the Congresswoman, to be able to hold this in a state that is usually not really favorable to Republicans in presidential cycles. We have the state of Pennsylvania next, very interesting seat. The 7th and 8th districts were very favorable towards Democrats in the last election, and now they're going to really come down to the wire. But in the end of the day, I do think that both these candidates could win. These are toss-up races. I do think Cartwright's going to lose, though, especially in a district that Trump won by 3. And right now, Susan Wild, I do have her narrowly winning. However, if Trump ends up winning this district, it's going to be very hard for her to hold on. But we'll just have to wait and see for more data to come out that just shows me the other way. Rhode Island is going to be not that close. Maybe the 2nd district could be in the likely column, but I'm going to leave it in the safe column. South Carolina, no competitive seats. South Dakota, nothing. Tennessee, also nothing. Texas, surprisingly, there is nothing. Most of these seats, apart from the 28th, 15th, and 34th, are going to be relatively safe. Utah is going to be all safe as expected. Same thing with Vermont. Virginia will have 1 competitive seat, the 7th district, and I do think she will. Actually, she is retiring to run for governor. I am mistaken by that. But I do think the Democrats will hold this by a little bit. It's going to be narrower than this, maybe around 2 points. But Democrats right now, I do believe, will hold that. In the state of Washington, we do have 1 district that Democrats are definitely not favored in, especially in a district that Trump won by 4.2. I do think that Republicans are actually going to flip this and that Joe Kent will end up winning this. Republicans will end up having 3 seats in the state of Washington. West Virginia, obviously, we have nothing. And in Wisconsin, this seat, the 3rd, will probably go to Republicans. I do expect them to hold on to that. And then Wyoming, it will not be flipping. It is the most Republican state. And this is going to be our final map based on my latest predictions. We have 222 for Republicans, 213 for Democrats. I could see a scenario where Democrats are able to flip the 8th district in Michigan, as well as this district, the 8th district in the state of Pennsylvania. Maybe they're able to flip back the Alaska at largest district, and this is probably the best they can do. I do think it's possible for Democrats to also flip one of these California districts back, as well as Don Davis's seat. But right now, I do think my prediction will actually stand at being around 222 to 213. This could change. Once again, we are still around 20 days away from Election Day. And this is not my last prediction, but this will be today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, like my video, put all your comments in the section below, and I will check you guys out in the next one.